Ever planted spinach seeds only to watch them sit there doing absolutely nothing for weeks? Or worse, bolt straight to seed before you even get a single harvest? It is one of the most frustrating things that can happen in the garden, especially when spinach is supposed to be one of the easier crops to grow. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the complete process of growing spinach from seed, covering everything from choosing the right variety all the way through those critical first 4 weeks of growth. Plus, stick around to the end where I will show you a simple trick for speeding up germination that can cut your waiting time nearly in half. Let's get into it. Spinach is one of the most rewarding leafy greens you can grow in your home garden. It is packed with nutrients, it grows quickly once it gets going, and honestly, nothing beats the taste of fresh spinach straight from your own backyard. The good news is that spinach is actually a lot easier to grow than most people think. Once you understand a few key concepts and follow the right steps at the right time, you will be harvesting tender baby leaves in just about 4 weeks. So let me start by helping you understand what spinach really needs to thrive. Here is the thing about spinach that trips a lot of gardeners up. Spinach is a cool weather crop, and I really cannot stress that enough. It absolutely loves temperatures between 40 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Once temperatures start creeping above 75 degrees consistently, spinach starts thinking about bolting, which means it sends up a flower stalk and the leaves turn bitter. That is why timing is everything with this crop. In most areas, you want to be planting spinach in early spring, about 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date, or in late summer and fall when temperatures start cooling back down. If you are in zones 7 through 10, you can even grow spinach right through the winter. Understanding this cool weather preference is really the foundation for everything else we are going to cover. Now let us talk about choosing the right variety, because not all spinach is created equal. There are 3 main types you will come across. Savoy spinach has those beautiful, crinkly, curly leaves, and it is incredibly cold hardy. Bloomsdale Longstanding is a classic Savoy variety that I have grown for years, and it holds up really well without bolting. Then you have flat leaf or smooth leaf spinach, which has those tender, smooth leaves that are a bit easier to clean. Space spinach is a great flat leaf variety. And finally, there are semi-Savoy types that give you kind of the best of both worlds, with some texture but easier cleaning. Thai is an excellent semi-Savoy that handles both heat and cold pretty well. If you are just getting started, I would recommend going with Bloomsdale Longstanding. For spring planting, or Thai if you are planting in an area where temperatures might fluctuate a bit. Both are widely available and very forgiving for beginners. All right, now that you have your seeds picked out, let us get your soil ready. Spinach is not super picky, but it does have a few preferences. First, it likes soil that drains well. If your soil stays soggy, you are going to run into problems with root rot and fungal diseases. I like to work in about 2 to 3 inches of compost before planting, which helps with both drainage and fertility. Spinach is also a bit of a heavy feeder, especially when it comes to nitrogen, so that compost really does double duty. The ideal soil pH for spinach is between 6.5 and 7.5, which is right around neutral. If you are growing in containers, and spinach does great in containers by the way, use a good quality potting mix and make sure your container is at least 6 inches deep. I have had great success with containers that are about 12 inches wide and 8 inches deep, which gives you room for maybe 6 to 8 plants. Just make sure there are drainage holes in the bottom. Nothing will kill spinach faster than sitting in waterlogged soil. Now we are ready to actually plant those seeds, and this is where a lot of people make their first mistake. Spinach seeds need to be planted shallow, and I mean really shallow. You only want to cover them with about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of soil. Any deeper, and they struggle to push through to the surface. I like to make little furrows with my finger, drop the seeds in about 1 inch apart, and then just lightly brush the soil back over them. Do not pack it down hard. It's just a gentle press to make sure the seeds have good contact with the soil. Now here is something I have learned over the years. Spinach seeds can be a little slow and stubborn to germinate. They have a hard outer coating, and soil temperatures really affect how quickly they sprout. In cool soil around 40 degrees, you might be waiting 2 to 3 weeks for germination. In warmer soil around 60 to 65 degrees, you could see sprouts in as little as 5 to 7 days. This is where that bonus tip I mentioned is going to come in handy, so definitely stick around for that. After planting, give the soil a good, gentle watering. I like to use a watering can with a fine rose attachment, so I do not blast the seeds out of place. You want the soil moist, but not soaking wet. All right, your seeds are in the ground. Now let us talk about what happens during weeks 1 and 2, which I call the germination phase. This is honestly the hardest part because you are just waiting and wondering if anything is happening down there. During this phase, your job is to keep the soil consistently moist, not wet, not dry, but evenly moist, like a wrung-out sponge. I check my spinach bed every day during this period, and if the top of the soil feels dry, I give it a light watering. If you are dealing with really warm weather, you might want to cover the bed with a light layer of row cover or even a piece of burlap to help keep the soil cool and retain moisture. Just remove it once you start seeing sprouts. Somewhere between day 5 and day 14, depending on your soil temperature, you are going to start seeing those first little seed leaves pushing through. They look like 2 tiny elongated leaves, almost like a little rabbit ears. This is such an exciting moment. Once you see those first sprouts popping up, you know you are on your way. By the way, if you are finding this helpful so far, take a second to subscribe so you do not miss future growing guides like this one. All right, let us keep going. Now we are into weeks 3 and 4, and this is when things really start to get exciting. Your spinach seedlings are going to start putting out their true leaves now, which look completely different from those first seed leaves. True spinach leaves are more rounded or pointed, depending on your variety, and they actually look like tiny versions of the spinach you will eventually harvest. During this phase, there are a few key things you need to focus on. First, thinning. I know it is hard to pull out perfectly good seedlings, but spinach needs room to grow. Once your seedlings have 2 to 3 true leaves, thin them so they are about 3 to 4 inches apart if you are going for baby spinach, or 4 to 6 inches apart if you want larger mature leaves. You can actually eat those thinnings in a salad, so nothing goes to waste. Second, keep up with consistent watering. Spinach that gets stressed from inconsistent moisture tends to bolt early. I aim for about 1 inch of water per week, either from rain or irrigation. Third, this is a good time to give your spinach a little boost of nitrogen. I like to side dress with a bit of compost or water with a diluted fish emulsion fertilizer every 2 weeks. You will really notice the leaves start to take off once they have that extra nitrogen available. By the end of week 4, you should have plants that are 3 to 4 inches tall, with several sets of true leaves, and you might even be ready for your first baby leaf harvest. Let me talk about some common problems you might run into and how to solve them. First, if your spinach is not germinating at all after 2 weeks, the most likely culprit is soil that is either too warm or too cold. Spinach germinates best when soil is between 50 and 65 degrees. If it is above 70, germination drops off dramatically. Try again in cooler weather or start seeds indoors. Second, if you are seeing yellowing leaves, especially on older leaves, your spinach is probably hungry for nitrogen. Side dress with compost or give it a feeding of fish emulsion. This usually clears up within a week. Third, if your spinach is bolting early with a flower stalk shooting up from the center, it is responding to either heat stress or long day length. Once spinach bolts, the leaves turn bitter and the plant is basically done. The best prevention is planting at the right time and choosing bolt-resistant varieties. Fourth, if you notice small holes in the leaves, you are probably dealing with flea beetles or slugs. Flea beetles leave tiny shot hole damage, while slugs leave larger irregular holes and slime trails. Row cover keeps flea beetles out, and a shallow dish of beer will trap slugs. Fifth, if your seedlings suddenly fall over at the soil line, that is damping off, a fungal disease that thrives in cool, wet conditions with poor air circulation. Make sure you are not overwatering and that your seedlings have good airflow. Unfortunately, once seedlings have damped off, you cannot save them, so you will need to start over in fresh soil. The good news is that if you follow all the steps we have covered, you should be able to avoid most of these issues. Now for that bonus tip I promised you at the beginning. If you want to speed up spinach germination and get more consistent sprouting, try soaking your seeds before planting. Here is what I do. I place my spinach seeds in a small jar of room temperature water and let them soak for about 12 to 24 hours. Do not go longer than 24 hours, or you risk the seeds starting to rot. After soaking, drain the water and plant the seeds immediately. This softens up that hard seed coat and can cut your germination time down significantly. I have seen soaked seeds sprout in as little as 4 days compared to 10 days or more for dry seeds. It is a simple trick, but it really does make a difference. So that is everything you need to know to grow spinach from seed through those first critical 4 weeks of growth. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you get notified when I post new growing guides. I would love to hear how your spinach is doing, so drop a comment below and let me know what variety you are growing or if you have any questions. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.